Good news. Thanks for watching. You got Ryan Cochran Siegel, you got Jake Blova, you got Laura Drennan, you got John Fusco. Watch those and listen to those. Rick Mitchell is my guest this time. I have to read these things so you get a handle of what this gentleman that you're going to be hearing from is up to. He is Rick Mitchell, Lawrence J. Henderson Professor of Pathology at Harvard Medical School, member of Harvard/MIT Health Sciences and Technology faculty, and a staff pathologist at Vice Chair for Education for Pathology at Massachusetts General/Brigham and Women's Hospital, specializing in cardiovascular. All right, you getting it? All right, hold on a little bit more. Teaching and administration. Rick has been the Associate Director of Harvard-MIT Division of Health Sciences and Technology, HST, at Harvard Medical School. For over 2 decades, he teaches in several venues at Harvard Medical School and contributes to several medical textbooks. Bam, 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 bam. It's nothing. He's going to talk about it. He's going to talk. I ask him about what the brain is. We talk about the brain. We talk about cancer. We talk about a lot of other things that are much lighter, too. His big thing is pathology, and talk a lot about the heart. What are heart transplants? How does that work? I love this stuff. So hang in there. As Associate Director of HST program at Harvard Medical School, Rick has primary responsibility for its educational mission as well. Check this. As the mentoring and advising of its MD, MD/PhD, and PhD students. Do you know the difference between MD and PhD? You're going to find out. Also, it's Rick Mitchell up from Boston with his wife, Diane. Did you know that this is, I don't think you can find any darn podcast all over the world, and there's too many of them, and I'm one of them, where someone sneezes. He sneezes. This guy who does all this stuff, brilliant, genius, 4 sneezes, I think, or maybe 3. So that's telling me that he's a relaxed guy. You know what I mean? This is what we want in life. We want relaxation. We don't want people all pent up. He's not trying to tell you how smart he is. I'm not trying to tell you how smart I am, man. It's Rick Mitchell! I probably peaked on the microphone thing, but that's all right. Go, Neil. Nice to see you. Thanks for coming.
My pleasure.
What's your name for the folks?
Oh, for the folks, Rick Mitchell.
Yeah, there's also a middle name in there.
Well, if you want the formal name, it's Richard Neil Mitchell. But yeah.
Yeah. So we've known each other for years and years. What's the Neil? Where's the Neil? Grandfather?
As my grandfather on my dad's side was Ora Nielsen Mitchell. Right. So he never went by that. He went by, what did he go by? Mitch.
Oh, really? His first name was Ora?
Ora.
O-R-A?
Uh-huh.
You know, the very famous farmer who's passed away, Mert Pike from Stowe, his wife's name was Ora. I always thought that was the coolest thing, man. Ora Pike. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Ora. So Richard Neil Mitchell, and you're up here visiting whom?
I'm visiting my son and daughter-in-law and our 2 grandchildren. They live in Moortown.
Right, and you're married to?
Diane Mitchell.
Another child.
And Rebecca, our daughter, who is a lawyer in New York City. She's a climate lawyer. She's trying to save the world from the rest of us.
Yeah, the problem is, does that mean she doesn't get paid as much as the lawyers that are doing like things?
Oh my God, yeah. No, she's doing this out of the love for the planet. Yeah. Definitely, it's enough to live in New York City, but just barely.
Yeah. Folks who are watching this, most of them have read your bio, so they know you're MD, PhD. By gosh, let's just tell the folks, I asked a buddy of mine, you know the difference between MD and PhD? And he didn't. So what is that?
Oh, well, so they're both called doctors, but a PhD is usually someone who's done additional time in academia and worked on and developed a thesis, a body of work that kind of pushed whatever field forward. You can get a PhD, a doctorate in sociology, you can get it in nutrition, you can get it in, as I did, in immunology, cell biology. So it doesn't have to be hard sciences. It can be, things that are a little bit off the hard science, pathway. Right. And so that's a PhD. An MD, a medical doctor, PhD is Doctor of Philosophy. That's where the PhD comes from. Ooh. MD is a medical doctor, and medical doctor is someone who takes care of people.
Okay.
So they are different, but they're all doctors.
Yeah. And I want to talk about the process of the MD and the PhD, which for you goes back years, I guess, and
Yes. Well, my parents were very concerned that I was never going to get out of school.
Yeah. Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Because I did it. I mean, a lot of people who do MD, PhDs do it as a combined program, and it's a little bit shorter. Mine was, I did a PhD first, and it took 5 years to do that. That's kind of typical. And then I said, no, I want to go to medical school too. So then I did 4 years of that.
And the PhD was that the Rockefeller something or another?
Rockefeller University in Manhattan, in New York City. That's actually where I met my wife. And she showed me how to make antibodies from rabbits. It's kind of it's a humorous story, but so when I got to Rockefeller's a pretty small place. It's on the Upper East Side, and we have maybe 15, 20 students a year that they admit, and it's a pure graduate PhD program, so Doctor of Philosophy. And we got there, and it is a small campus. So everybody kind of knows everybody else.
Yeah.
And at lunch, we would go to the one cafeteria, and there were these 15, mostly guys. We had 2 women in our class, 3 women out of 15. The 12 guys would sit together at lunch and then look longingly across the cafeteria, and there was this one table of babes that every day went to lunch at the same time we would do, and we would kind of gaze at them and try to scheme ways that we could meet them. And in that group was Diane, and so we were there. Her lab did immunology research. They injected rabbits with different proteins, and then over time, the rabbits would make antibodies to those proteins that could be used for analysis or could be used as a tool to kind of purify proteins, that kind of stuff. So I convinced the guy that I was working with, my primary investigator, principal investigator, PI, Bill, that we needed to make antibodies. And he goes, "That's a great idea." So he said, I'm going to call up this guy, Tom Kent, and I'm going to tell Tom we need to collaborate. Excellent. And so I got assigned to Diane.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So this was my first opportunity. I had purified my protein to the best of my abilities. We're going to go down to the animal colony and inject the rabbits. We have to get all gowned up.
Yeah.
We're all, because we want to keep the room clean. So it takes a while. You got to put on booties and gloves and aprons and all kinds of stuff. And we go down there with all of our equipment, and the bunnies are kind of hopping around. These are big bunnies. I mean, they're not cute little fuzzy guys. These are big rabbits. Yeah. And they've been around the rabbit block a couple times, so they know what's coming, and they're not happy about it. So we get in there, and so because they're not happy about it, they're not going to go down willingly. Oh, yeah. So you have to put them in a rabbit box, which is basically a big box with just their head and shoulders sticking out. Oh, God. We get down there, we're gowned up, we got our stuff, and we're ready to rock and roll, and no bunny boxes. Damn. So I said, well, we're going to have to get ungowned. And Diane said, no. So she just hitches up her skirt, grabs the bunny, and sits on top of the bunny. And the rabbit is splayed out. It's like, what the heck is going on here? And she goes, give me the syringe. So give me the syringe. She goes, there, that's how you do that. And I said, cool. All right. And what are you doing on Saturday night?
That was it.
That was it.
That's a great story. That is funny as heck, man. But all gowned up.
All gowned up.
I love that. Reminds me of the story you remember when Jay, what was his name? He used to be on Letterman for his Christmas show. Always Jay Thomas.
Oh, yeah.
And he would throw the football, and then he would tell the story about the Lone Ranger coming, and he would say that me and this other DJ would go behind the dumpster and get all herbed up. We'd get herbed up. So
herbed up. Yeah.
Just real quick on that Rockefeller thing. How many years was that PhD?
That was a 5-year thing.
That's 5.
5 years.
You might have already said that, but anyway, yeah, 5.
Yeah, well, yeah. So I have to have a body of work. So out of that, I published 3 papers or so. And then a thesis that I have to defend in front of the entire community. And then, then they wave the water over me or whatever and say, you're a doctor. But at that point, I was really so this was in the late 70s. This was in the age of disco, actually. I was in New York during the age of disco,
Yeah.
which was also interesting. But I got concerned because at that point in kind of academia and the support for national institutes of health, the money was kind of being allocated or reallocated to other kind of places. And so basic science, which is what I really wanted to do, was not going to be supported. They were supporting people who were doing translational work, research that would actually create a drug or a therapy for people. That's fine. I think that's a good thing. But that was not where I was going originally. And most of the funding was going to MDs or MD PhDs. And I didn't have the right degree or the right kind of understanding. So at that point, I applied to medical school. Oh, the other thing that happened in this period of time is that I had met Diane, fallen in love, gotten married, and I worried about writing grants for a living and being able to support a family and a wife and have a house and whatever. And so I thought, well, I'll go get an MD. And if everything goes to hell in a handbasket, I'll be able to at least hang up a shingle and support a family and myself. And got to medical school. And in the application process, I lied through my teeth. Oh, I've always planned to do this. I was going to do a PhD, then I was going to do an MD. And they bought it. But I got there, and lo and behold, I actually really liked it.
Oh, okay.
So I love medical school.
This is a good lesson for
Yeah,
people.
no, it is. Yeah, you can't predict, you can't necessarily plan. You kind of like follow your nose. Anyway, got there and it was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. I got like a blueprint. I got a user's manual for my body. It's like, oh, that's how that works. Oh, that's why that happened.
Oh, okay.
So it was the coolest.
Doing the MD program.
Doing the MD program, yeah.
But you joked yourself into it, but then you loved it. But then that's another 4 years.
Yeah. Well, and then once you're done with that, you graduate, you're not really ready to take care of people. So you have to do an internship and then a residency. So it's another 3 to 4 years and sometimes longer, depending on what you want to go into. The people who go into neurosurgery, it's another 7 years after medical school before they're ready to say, I'm a board certified neurosurgeon.
Right. Thank you, Vermont Artisan Coffee and Tea Company. This one here, look at the packaging, is beautiful. Even this package is 100% renewable resources. Anyway, Mocha Java, 100% coffee, no chocolate added, which is not necessarily a good thing, but it's not added. Earthy, sweet, and wild, roast level, medium dark. Artisan Coffee and Tea Company, they roast their coffee, make their teas right between Waterbury and Stowe in Vermont on Route 100. They have a big, long, red, modern barn there. They have a coffee and tea cafe at the Waterbury end of it. I go there about every day. It's not a hangout where they're making smelly egg sandwiches or anything. They have great sweets. But anyway, Artisan Coffee and Tea Company. Now here, this is the coffee. Here's the tea, example of how the teas come. Wait a minute. And I just want to give you, I want to give you my reaction when I smell of the English breakfast. So this is true. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I can smell it in the mug. I can smell it. I can feel it going down. Beautiful. Artisan Coffee and Tea Company. Thank you. So that's funny. The MD was, as an aside, I had to get some money. But I'd like to list some of the jobs you have right now, and not at the beginning of your career, but at the end, so we can clue people in on where you are and what you're doing daily. Just to list the titles of, Rick Mitchell is.
What I do now. So
titles.
So I wear multiple hats over the course of any given day. So I'm a full professor, for whatever that's worth, at Harvard Medical School, and so I direct the anatomy and the pathology courses. So I teach young impressionable minds and warp them, or try to get them to see my way of seeing things. That's fun. That's about 20% of my time is doing the teaching thing. So full professor there. I am a staff pathologist at Brigham and Women's Hospital, which is part of a larger Massachusetts General Brigham and Women's Hospital kind of enterprise. And there, in that capacity, I do autopsy pathology, so I perform autopsies. I train residents how to do autopsies. And I do primarily cardiovascular pathology, so things having to do with the heart and with vessels. The institution that I'm at does a lot of heart transplant, and that's really kind of my most important responsibility is saying this. They take little pieces of people's heart on a regular basis to see whether they're rejecting or not. And my job is to say, you need to treat this guy because he's rejecting, or this woman is doing fine, or you have an infection or whatever.
That's what pathology is, basically.
Pathology is diagnosis on tissue
Tissues
specimen.
and-
So that's another 20% of my time. And then I do research. So I collaborate with a bunch of really smart people, and I provide kind of pathology expertise. So I can look down a microscope and see mystical, magical things with my eyes, which is kind of cool. So I do research for another 20%, and the remaining 40% is another 80% of my life, and that's administrative stuff. So I am vice chair for education for the pathology department across both institutions. I run a bunch of committees. I sit on a bunch of committees.
Not so much fun as that first 60%.
Yeah, no, exactly. Not as much fun. It's kind of a necessary evil. And every now and then something good will really come out of that, and we'll set a new policy, or we'll be able to set up a new program that makes a difference. But a lot of it is like, we have to sit together and let everyone express their opinions and then reach a consensus.
But interesting to me that you have these things, segment. This is this, this is this, this is this. They're all different, but they're all the same. And, you can just be a school bus driver. You don't have to be the school bus driver and the guy that runs the guys that fix it, or girls, or the person that is a dispatcher.
Yeah.
And you can just be MD. Open your mouth, say ah, and get really good at that. What makes Rick Mitchell say as a youngster, I'm going to not just do the one thing, I'm going to do all of these things?
So I think the basic answer is I don't know how to say no.
Okay. Great answer.
The way they reward you for doing an okay or a good job is to give you more jobs. And so
that's interesting. Yeah. Okay, I didn't expect that. I expected you to say, well, I found that interesting, and then I also found this interesting. But you're just very good at things, and people ask, and you
they just keep asking until I screw up. Yeah.
Interesting. Can I borrow 10 grand? Can't say no. Thank you. Okay. Thanks, Rick.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I don't want to get. No, I was going to get into the mark on the calendar when one scales back.
Oh,
I'm a good deal younger than you, and I've scaled back, but partly not my choosing. You're a teacher. You're seeing all sorts of people.
Yeah,
and you're teaching all sorts of people. And I just have these questions about life, and then you're the guy. This is Wikipedia today. IQ. What's the difference? You can actually cellularly tell me maybe, but your opinion more is what I want. What's the difference between IQ, I understand you take the IQ test, and practical smarts in your mind? And what would you say, boy, if I ever had a grandkid, I hope they're practically smart over IQ, or I'd like them to be both, or, well, you know what I mean?
Well, so the intelligence quotient, the IQ thing, is just how, it's like a computer. How powerful is it? How well can it process information? How good can it retain information? How well can it apply previous information to new situations? I think that's the IQ thing. Boy, I don't think you can be book smart and world stupid. And so I think that practical knowledge kind of trumps that. If you really know your stuff, I don't, and the guy who can come in because your refrigerator's not working and may not have gone to anything beyond high school, and maybe you struggled to get out of high school, but can come in and say, okay, well, your Framus is off the spindle differ, and this is what we need to do. And can diagnose that and fix that is like, damn, you need that.
Right. So why I asked you is because, yeah, I get it that, I'm a comedian and you don't have to be smart, but you have to, but in your world, it's a world where these neurosurgeons and all, I just wanted to know if that still applies to a neurosurgeon.
It does. So,
That's cool, man.
We talked about that 7 years of training after you graduate from medical school to be a neurosurgeon. It's to take that book smart stuff and now get practical smart on top of that. So, to your earlier question, you kind of need both. I mean, at least in my world.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to have a fairly good IQ when you're going.
You got to be able to retain and process information. You do. But you need to get that practical piece too. And so to be a really good physician, you need to practice. I think there are elements too that you can't train and you can't practice at. Just being a decent human being is something too that we value. That one is really innate. And I work with people who are just brilliant. They're really good at what they do. If I needed to have my valve replaced in my heart, I'd go to them. Do I want to be friends with them? Absolutely not.
Right.
They are just not nice human beings. They're technically really good.
Yeah.
So they've got the book smart and the practical smart, but there's a third piece, and that's being a human being.
Very cool. I put it too, like I think in life, I find more often that friends will say they're not my IQ, I don't even know if it's in 3 digits. I think that people are all the same amount of smart, and it's more about what they care about.
Yeah.
One of my friends will say, that goes out of my mind. And then like if I ask the guy how much his oil bill was, you know what I mean? What to the cent or what gas is and the things you care about, I say to him, you're really smart. You really retain those. So maybe it's not so much, but it's the people that can say, I now want to be a doctor and I care about being a doctor as a whole, but there's all these intense things I have to learn, and it helps if you have intelligence too. Now, as a teacher, you see the people coming, the students from all over the world, and you go, I think that person is this way. And that's not good. But you know what? I'm not gonna let that affect my teaching or my judgment on that person. Do you find that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. There are students who are going to be those people that need a personality transplant when they get done, but who are really, really, really smart. And so you kind of do your very best to inculcate them with, here's the really important stuff that you need to know. And along the way, we try to instill a sense of professionalism and humanity. People don't always come with that.
You're loaded with, I wouldn't even ask you. I would say you're loaded. You got all and more than you needed at all those things. So this is why you've done well. Probably someone else would say that about you, But you might say, my IQ isn't as good at Rusty as my practical smarts. My practical smarts is or vice versa. But I'm not going to ask you. I'm jumping all over. It doesn't matter to you because these are my notes. I want to go right on to a specific thing. I think you love this stuff. One time, years and years and years ago, you brought me to the pathology lab. Do you recall that? Yeah. And so now this is and I've always been fascinated since then on specific things. So just as a funny thing, the brain, let's try to blow people away here. How much of this thing, you were doing percentages before, 20, 20, 20. How much of my head or whatever is filled with brain?
So probably from the eyes up and from kind of front to back, it weighs about 1,500 grams, which is going to be about 3.5 pounds. When we take it out, I mean, it's soft. It is kind of the consistency of Jell-O, just as Jell-O is melting. That's kind of how
Oh,
firm the
really?
brain is. Yeah. And you've held, I think
I did.
Yeah, you held it in your hand. So when we take it out, we have to kind of cradle it. It's why we encase it in bone, because we don't want to, jiggle it around too much or damage it.
Mhm.
And so I'm also very impressed with football players who run into each other, 300-pound men at whatever speed they're going, and beat their heads together, because that concusses the brain against that bone.
Is the brain, are you not as far on the brain as you are on many other things in the body? But it seems to me that, dementia or whatever, and we have these medications we can give people. It seems to me it's like, well, she had a car accident. We don't know what's going to happen,
Yeah.
like this you can fix.
Yeah. So I think that the brain in the human body, the brain is the last final frontier.
Ah,
In terms of our total understanding, we still don't have a really good sense of how we encapsulate memory. We have kind of a vague idea, but even just building that memory and the memory that you had when you were 10 years old, that kind of is fixed in your brain,
oh yeah.
and the one you developed last week, and how we sort through those. We don't know how we can design computer systems that mimic the human brain, but we still don't understand in neuronal circuits at a really fine level how the brain does its thing in terms of logic. Even me now speaking, how does the brain very instantaneously
I
select
don't know.
select the words that are going to open up, come out of my mouth, and then also move the muscles that are causing the phonation? It's amazing.
Oh
So
yeah.
we can, I mean, I I work in the heart mostly, and I have a pretty good understanding. Where there's still elements even in the heart that we don't
Mhm.
understand, but the brain is still is this 3.5 pounds of incredible computing capacity that we still don't know exactly how it works.
Yeah, I have a couple more questions on there. I hope people are enjoying this, but yeah, because what could someone do? Like, say I go to a doc, some certain doc, and I ask you, which doc should I go to, Rick? And what I'm having trouble with is dreams. I'm having some dreams, man, and I get up. This isn't true,
Okay, okay.
This is hypothetical.
Oh
I get up
yes.
at night and I walk out into the room and I lay down and I find myself sweating, and then it's scary and it's my mom and dad. This is not true. Then you say go to this person. What the hell are they going to tell me?
They're going to give their best opinion. Yeah, I mean they don't
That's
know.
what you just said in that last answer. You don't know.
Right.
I love the brain.
Yeah. No, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It is. And it evolved spontaneously over, depending on your
Oh, it's
whole view on
freaking freak
God
show.
and evolution and Darwin and all that stuff. To me, this incredible computing power evolved over eons to now where we are, and we can build microphones and sets and talk to each other, and it's amazing.
Is it possible, because you hear someone had an operation, this, that, is it possible these days to have a tumor taken out, and once, can they take some brain out of my head because of a problem, and I'll still be 100% intact with everything that I can do and think and feel? Or once they fool around with that thing, is it?
It depends, actually. So everything you're going to ask me about medicine, my first response is it depends. It depends.
Yeah.
So, if I take a 8-year-old kid and I manipulate that brain and I take out a tumor or whatever, odds are that at that age there's enough what we call plasticity that another part of the brain can take over. And so by the time they're
Oh, I like this.
15,
I
16
like
years
this.
old, they're back to pretty much completely normal. If I do that same manipulation in an 80-year-old, no, there's not enough plasticity. You won't recover. But there's a huge spectrum between that
Right.
8-year-old and that 80-year-old. And for most of us, with rehab and working at it and some degree of plasticity, you can recover a lot of function, probably not all of it.
Right. So I did this backwards. I wanted to say a word and then have you say one word back to
Okay,
me. You know
sure.
what I mean? So now I wanted to say brain and then have you say the word and then talk about it. We've already talked about it, but let's sum it up by me say one word. What's the first word that comes to your mind when I say brain?
Well, I've already said it. Boy, a lot of words come to mind. Amazing.
Okay. No, that's cool. That's what that's what I'm going for there. How much gold is made? Let me just go over here. Difference between IQ. What is common denominator? I'll do my notes.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Now, as we age, because a lot of people are aging, I'd say everyone
Well,
is.
in fact, it beats the alternative for sure.
Everyone is aging. Can we? I think I know the answer, but you'll be able to give a nice, fluid answer that's interesting. Like, okay, so I'm getting older, right? So, okay, you got to, Rusty, you got to keep working out, keep those muscles strong and bones to not fight. I hate that word, fight, to make it so that you don't die as early. And before you die, you're feeling better. And can we do that with the brain, man? Or am I stuck? Or hey, Russ, you better start doing Wordle 10 times a day. Is that a fact? I know eating and resting and all, but
Yeah.
what about exercising the brain?
No, exactly. And in fact, the more that we know, there's evidence that says that exercise and good eating and getting, an adequate sleep, that kind of stuff, definitely will preserve brain function longer and better.
But how can we really go above that normal stuff as now I'm 65? I can really challenge my body more than what it wants to do.
Yeah.
How do I do that with that thing? Take up the piano or something like,
No, I'm not sure that there's a magical solution.
Okay.
If there was a one-stop prescription, I think we would all be doing that. So I think that there is a good living. Full stop is what you kind of need to do, and we all know what that means.
Right.
In terms of sleep and eating and exercise and all that stuff, that will preserve brain function longer, better. Is it forever? No.
No.
Unfortunately, it's not forever. And same thing with muscle. I mean, you can continue.
Yeah.
You can continue to work out. There is a finite. There's a shelf life in all of us.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, as a pathologist in particular, I know that none of us get out of this thing alive.
Yeah.
And so you try to preserve for as long as you can the quality of life that you enjoy. And far be it for me to kind of say, oh, you need to do this and that other thing. What do you enjoy doing?
Mm-hmm.
And you enjoy sitting in nature and just letting the butterflies come to you, or you like to, scale up to the top of the mountain. Both are perfectly acceptable. It's what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to be, someone who sits and thinks and just enjoys music in your garage, that's great. And if you want to be bicycling and scaling mountains and skiing down the other side and all that stuff, that's also great.
It's funny, this good eating and good sleeping and everything, health for the brain, being good, ties into your former answer about it's always good to be good. A good person. You see, there's a theme there.
Yeah, there is a theme there.
Yeah.
Well, everything in moderation, including moderation.
Right. Yeah, fair enough. That's a good one. Hey, I want to go on to, I want to go back and let's go to this medical school thing. I've always had a question. I read The House of God.
Okay. Oh, you did?
I did.
Great book.
Yeah. That's a little bit outdated now, right? But
Yeah.
but I mean, the House of just explain quickly what that is, or somebody might want to get that book.
Yeah, no,
I would highly.
exactly. It's in paperback. It is Samuel Shem is the guy who wrote it.
It's
Actually,
alias.
that's an alias, nom de plume. He was I forget where he went to medical school, but he is writing as an intern at the House of God, and House of God is Beth Israel.
Right.
And actually, real place. He was a real intern at Beth Israel Hospital in Boston, and he's taken. It's a caricature of all the characters that he worked with, but it's a very sardonic, sarcastic, black humor take on what it's like to take care of patients in that era. You're right; it's a little bit dated.
And study and be among the people you're studying with.
Right, exactly. Well, yeah. So he's an intern. So he's talking about the day-to-day kind of life of an intern, which in the early 70s, which is when this was taking place, was hard. Now there are work hour rules. No work hour rules.
So this is going to be my big question. Let me just jump in there.
Okay.
My big question I've always had is what is the sense of like treating these internists as back in the day as a Navy SEAL? I never got that. They're always like, "Oh, we're up for all these." Why did that work? Why did they think that worked? Sounds like they've changed that. So
yeah, they have changed it. So back in the day, and even when I was an intern, there were no limits. You stayed until your work got done. The benefit, so if there is a benefit to this, working long hours, is that you got to see the arc of what happened with your patients, and your patients got continuity of care. I wasn't working for 8 hours and handing it off to another guy for 8 hours and to another gal for 8 hours. I was doing 24 hours, and I felt like I actually did better for my patients in that regard. And I also got to see how things changed. So if I just work 8 hours and I start a therapy, I don't see what happens in the next 8 hours or that next 12 hours. So that was kind of the benefit. It was how the hospitals ran. I mean, that the reimbursement was never great, and they were able to make ends meet, so to speak, off the backs of these interns and residents who were working these really long hours. So that was how they made it work.
Right.
And it was just the ethos.
Yeah.
It was the way things were, and you put in your time. And by God, we liked it. I mean, we complained and bitched and moaned about it, but you also built a certain.
You're young.
Well, you're young, and there's a certain camaraderie. That being in the same foxhole together. I have very fond memories of the people that I worked with, and kind of the hell that we made it through, and some of the patients that we shared, and just the experiences that we had. It made me a stronger person. Nietzsche, that doesn't kill me, makes me stronger. And the internship experience definitely, made me, I think, a better doctor. There's a downside. So everybody, even the most brilliant person, starts getting a little foggy after about 24 hours of being up straight.
Yeah.
And as a result, there was a very famous case that happened in New York City, where a young trainee doctor, intern, made a mistake in terms of prescribing to an inpatient, and she unfortunately died. Her father was a writer for the New York Times and made this a cause célèbre. And as a result of that experience, and that because the mistake was made because someone was really, really tired, they changed the rules.
Oh, okay.
And now it's a maximum of 80 hours a week,
Oh.
which still seems like a lot. Most people work 40-hour weeks.
Double, but
so double that. But that means now there's increasingly a lot of shift work. And we have to have more doctors, so it's more expensive, more trainees.
Right.
So it's more expensive, and so healthcare costs go up, and there's more handoffs. So there are unfortunately more opportunities for things to fall through the cracks.
Sure.
And life being what it is, they do. So It's a trade-off.
That's interesting. Yeah, House of God. I recommend that. There's another. I don't want to talk about other people's work. I want to talk about your work. But I love this. You know this guy.
Yes, they do. Atul Gawande.
Atul Gawande, and I highly recommend this book, Complications. What did I get from this book? There's complications in my body, but also in how you're being treated. And the one thing I wanted to talk about that I got from House of God many years ago when I read it was I was unaware with, of course I'm unaware of most things in that book, but that correct me if I'm putting this into a specific way. In many, or could we say most hospitals and with doctors, there's a rotation of the same people who are going to these hospitals all the time.
Oh my goodness! Yes.
There's a term for it in that book. I forget what it was, but if you talk to your friends, it's like, oh, Aunt B, she's back in the hospital again. So I always, at that point in my life, I was young. I was like, I don't want to be one of those people that gets older that's always having to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
So
frequent flyers. But I think the term you're referring to is Gomer.
Yeah.
Which is kind of pejorative, but it stands for get out of my emergency room.
Okay.
And so so one of the things I learned as an intern that you don't really appreciate when you're in medical school. So medical school, you're learning about diseases and how to take care of them. And the stories that you tell as you go through that training is that you diagnose a disease, you recognize it, diagnose it, treat it appropriately, and life goes on. It's happily ever after. In reality, what I discovered or learned as an intern is that, chronic diseases all progress. And so, a chronic heart failure, chronic lung failure, chronic liver failure, chronic renal failure, you can change the slope. So if, patients would come into the hospital and they were on a very downward slope, and all of my team, not just me, but everybody's best work, we would change that slope, but we would never make that slope go up. We would make it at very best level. And it was always slightly down. So chronic heart failure, you treat them, send them out, say, you got to take this medication, you got to lay off the salt, you got to watch your blood pressure, et cetera, et cetera. And they go out and life happens. And I want to have a little Chinese food, or I want to do a little bit of this, that, and the other thing. And that chronic heart failure rears its ugly head and they're back in. So once you kind of start down that pathway, it's depressing. But again, we don't get out of this alive. Right. And so we can change kind of the course, but we never make it better.
Yeah, different than the person that might have a hernia, and that person has to go in and out 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, and then the doctors don't see that person again if that's a really healthy person.
Right. No,
and
exactly.
They're 89 and
so
they
there
go
are
boom.
Things that you can fix. There are things you can fix. So
but that struck me in that book, and I was like, oh my God, yeah, obviously. It's just people going back to the hospital. And I was very fortunate until recently. I never had to be in those hospitals.
Yeah, no, I remember several of my favorite all-time patients. I would make them so perfect as I could, and discharge them with great instructions, and they would nod their head and go out. And 2 weeks later, hi, doc, I'm back.
Gomer. They're a Gomer, man.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, that book. That book stays with me.
Good read. It's a good read. It's very funny.
Yeah. You'd think they'd do one of those streaming movie things with it.
They actually made a movie out of it.
Oh, they did.
It's one of the worst movies ever.
They didn't get the right people.
Yeah, so we should revisit it. But it's it's a terrible movie.
Is that
great book?
Guy, even though that's not his name, is he still around?
He is. He wrote another one. What is it called? Mount St. Misery. So interestingly, he did an internship in medicine, and then True Life, he went off to be a psychiatrist. Oh. And so he did another 4 years of psychiatry training at McLean's Hospital in Boston. Mm-hmm. So he writes about that in a subsequent book. Not as funny. Okay. But he's still around. He's actually, so he was also funny. He was persona non grata. He was the black sheep. We were not allowed to say his name or anything like that around
Right.
Harvard. And then about
That's interesting.
8 years ago, 10 years ago, they invited him back, and he was our graduation speaker.
Oh.
So we can rehab anybody, I guess.
Polly, Polli, Construction Incorporated, custom building and remodeling. Thank you for sponsoring Golden, yo. Stephen Polly, you love the story. The gentleman moves from Scotland to America and makes a great company that employs many, many people. And he's got a great shop, safe shop. And you see the trucks around, Polly Construction, the mid to upper, all of Vermont. And well, they have 7 divisions. That's the thing. They see if I can remember them. Stephen, are you watching? Windows and doors, decks and porches, kitchens and baths, Poly Handyman division, Rot Doctors, Sparkles. That's the cleaning, window cleaning, and I got them. I'm just drawing it out of you. I'm waiting. I'm building it up. Expert painters, 7 divisions. So Poly Construction, I'm having fun, but they're first rate. One call does it all. Polyconstruction.com. Yeah, I have a couple questions too that I kind of like leave till the end. One of my that are less occupational,
Okay.
which is, and one of them, it just came to my mind. We're back. Is what's your opinion on the late night shows now? We grew up with this, but anyway, we'll return to that because
Okay.
I want to move on to sounds like where your heart is, and that is with the heart. So we're going to start off. I'm going to just say that word, and you'll say one word back, and then I'll ask some questions. Heart, the heart.
Pump.
Okay. Oh, here's one. Just kind of weird and stupid. No, it isn't weird and stupid. We say, but because you can make something out of this, we say, we lose the girlfriend or something, not lose her or break up or whatever the dog has. Well, I have a broken heart.
Uh-huh.
That's just a saying. Now, because does that pump, is that able to take in and put out and coddle emotion?
Actually, so it's funny you ask. There is something called broken heart syndrome, which is a real thing. It's extreme stress. So it can be extreme emotional stress. It can be an earthquake. It can be a variety of things. And when that happens, when you have extreme stress, your adrenals, little organs kind of in the back, sit on top of the kidneys. They make a lot of epinephrine, adrenaline. That adrenaline, makes you fight or flight. That's the kind of the response. But that adrenaline also causes vessels of the heart and other vessels in the body to squeeze shut. And depending on how much adrenaline you have all at once, you can actually squeeze so hard on the vessels that you cut off the blood supply to parts of the heart, and you can actually have a heart attack as a result of too much stress. It called broken heart syndrome, and it's a real thing. Can be driven by extreme emotions. So not a common thing, but we do see that.
So I'm a little bit blown away. So what I'm saying is when we say that, if we're just, it's not necessarily that feeling that I'm having, not eating and not sleeping and waking up isn't from the heart.
It's not from
necessarily,
the heart, no.
but it can be. That's cool, man. That's very cool. I'm glad I asked that. So you actually can, because I would have said it's not really your heart.
But it's
not.
It's your
brain. It's your brain.
Yeah,
should we say I have a broken brain, or whatever, or a sick brain over this?
In
a way,
it is. It's distress, but you're right. Most of the feelings of despair and oh my God, my heart is breaking. It's not. But there is this syndrome.
It can.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I took the brain when I was with you at the pathology thing.
Yeah.
I took the brain out of the 5-gallon barrel, wasn't it? Basically, yeah. And I think I saw heart too. I know I saw lungs, but let's stay on the heart. I say, I just love this stuff. The heart, I'm aware, and have been for years. When I do talks, motivational to the kids or whatever, I say, and the teachers always want you to talk about the body and keeping it healthy. Excuse me. I say, I'm just freaking out. I said, because at some point after conception, my heart started to beat. And we can get into that a little bit, not about the political stuff. And then at some point I'll die. Between those 2 points, the heart is beating. Maybe a couple things that it freaks me out, man, because I'm not telling it to.
Right.
The heart, I don't understand. So, and then the kids are like, so then I say, so it's really important to eat right and sleep because you have this thing in you that's been going for 12 years. So what about that? The pump, that was your answer.
Yeah, no, the pump, it does. It's autonomous. We can't tell it to go faster or slower. We can do things that will make it go faster or slower, but pretty much if it's not beating 60 to 70 after 3 cups of coffee, 90 beats a minute. If it's not doing that, then you're not getting blood that's circulating to your brain and to your liver and other parts of your body. You can't do what you do. So yeah, and it does it. In fact, that's kind of how we define death. There's no heartbeat. So yeah, from conception, starting at about 5 to 8 weeks, that's when the heart first beats. And it turns out really cool that to have that fetus develop, you have to have a beating heart.
Okay.
You actually need that physical force of pulsation to drive the development of all of the circulation and everything else. So it is amazing. And yeah, it's got to do that forever and ever.
And then the reason the fact that you can say it's a pump is one of the main reasons that you're dealing with heart transplants, putting someone else's heart. Tell us about that, man.
Well, okay. So, I mean, I don't do that. The surgeons do
I understand.
that. But when we have irreversible heart failure for any reason, it can be a congenital heart disease. It can be too many heart attacks. It can be genetic reasons. There are a variety of reasons. But when we can't support the heart anymore with either devices or with medication, we list people, we put them on a list and say, we're going to give you a new heart.
Okay, right off. What are the chances when you tell me that? I hope you never have to. You say, we're going to give you a new heart. With cancer, they can give you, and they will, and they did give you the numbers, the percentages. With what you have, boom, bing. Do you just go, it's probably going to work 70% on you? Or do you not go that place with this?
Well, so in terms of heart transplant, first of all, you have to get a new heart. I will say in the United States right now, there are 30,000, 40,000 people on a list someplace waiting to get a new heart. We don't have those numbers of donors. In the United States, more people will die waiting to get new organs than actually get them each year, which is really sad. So for anyone who's watching the podcast, if you ever thought about, could I be a donor? You don't need those organs once you're done with them. And so I would highly recommend that you consider having that on the back of your driver's license so that you can give life to the next person. In the United States, we do between 3,000 and 4,000 heart transplants a year. That's across the entire country.
Boy, that's not a lot, is it?
That's not a lot. And as I say, there are 40,000 people on this waiting list. So it's a 10% chance that you're going to get it before you die with the disease that you have. Once you get it, people think, oh, I'm now good to go for another 70 years. Not quite. So the medications that we have to put you on, as I tell friends, family, now you, when you get a transplant, you're just exchanging one set of problems for another set of problems. So the medications that we put you on dampen your immune response so that you don't reject your new heart. But as you dampen that immune response, you're also dampening it to respond to infectious diseases. So you're at risk of developing infectious disease. And it turns out the immune system is really important too for protecting you from malignancy, from cancer. So patients who get the transplant have an increased risk for developing a number of cancers. So it's not perfect, but once you get it, 90% will get another 10 years.
No kidding. And they can be, sure you can kayak if you feel up
Oh
to
yeah,
it.
well,
Okay,
absolutely.
okay.
No, in fact, it's actually kind of interesting because the way our hearts are wired in our own body is that there are nervous input to the heart that says go faster, go slower. So you have a vagus nerve that tells the heart to slow down. Or we have sympathetic nervous system that says speed up. And that's in response to a variety of stimuli. When they put in the new heart, they don't wire those back up. So that new heart can't slow down or go faster in the same way that ours does.
Oh.
It can respond to adrenaline and go faster, but it's if you see someone with a heart transplant and they've run a marathon or they've climbed to the top of a mountain, that's impressive because they can't increase their heart rate.
They've done it at that rate.
Yeah.
Okay, they have to surrender. I used to be the greatest runner, but that person has to say, I'm not going to be anymore, but I will be alive.
Yeah, no, exactly. And in fact, you can have decent quality of life, a really good quality of life after a transplant. You don't have to give up stuff. You can run. It's just not going to be at the elite level that you were before.
Well, this is all very interesting information. I thought it was more of a gimme. Yeah, so and so's getting a heart transplant. They bring the cooler in, and I thought it was like, yeah, so I'm next. So there's 5 ahead of me. So that puts me a little bit before Thanksgiving. Cool, man. I thought it was more like that.
Yeah, no, not at all.
So you're lucky to be told that you could get a heart transplant, but then you're like,
then you're
what
on a
are the
waiting
odds?
list. Yeah.
Is there don't tell me if you're not allowed. Is there a prioritization of so a 14-year-old child or something?
No. So interestingly enough, no. I mean, in fact, they go to great lengths to not say, "Oh, well, you're a world famous whatever, baseball player, scientist, whatever, and we're going to put you at the top of the list because you're world famous." No, it is supposed to be blind to all of those kind of criteria. It's based on severity of their disease. So the list changes. If you are on life support, you go to the top of the list because you're going to die. Likely, you're going to die before you get a heart.
Yeah,
if you're
sense.
stable at home, not great, but you're stable at home, you're kind of at the lower end of the list. But it doesn't. It's not supposed to be about who you are or how much you pay. There are some other things that go on in the transplant community, and there have been some infamous cases where people got organs and they shouldn't have. Back in the day, Mickey Mantle got a new liver,
he did, yeah.
And he got to the top of the list because he was Mickey Mantle.
Yeah,
but that doesn't happen very much these days.
No, profile the. No offense against anyone. I don't want this to happen, but profile the perfect person to die. To use that, you're like you guys and girls are like
to be a donor.
Yeah, donor.
Oh, not politically speaking.
No, that's right. I want that guy or girl to die. No, like I'm sitting there and I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm running out of time, and all of a sudden they call me up and they say, listen, we got a beauty for you.
Yeah.
Who is
so
that?
It's a 20-year-old male who was a motorcycle rider and went out without his helmet and wrapped himself around a tree.
And that heart is being, but so the 20 that you can put a 20-year-old heart into a 65-year-old.
Oh my God, yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, the only thing to put in organs, they have to fit. So I can't take a heart.
Small guy.
I can't take a heart from a 600-pound guy and put it into a 100-pound woman. That heart's going to be too big. Right. So also, if it's a 100-pound woman who's donating her heart, and it won't be able to pump satisfactorily for a 600-pound guy. So size matters.
Okay. So I didn't know. So say I'm 190, and then all of a sudden I put the food bag on for 3 years, and I get to be 290. My heart has grown in size.
Yeah, it's. I
didn't know that, man.
Yeah, the heart itself. So you haven't gotten more cells; just the individual cells have enlarged.
Okay.
To accommodate the increased BMI, the body mass index. So you have more tissue that you need to pump blood to. The heart recognizes that. It's kind of an amazing thing. And so it will enlarge as you enlarge.
When the people have the heart situation and they just die, I always think of, no, I don't not always think of. I tend to hear that it was a blocked thing. Yeah, the thing was totally blocked, blood going to it. I get that. Can those things, those heart attacks happen that has nothing to do with the blood coming and going, but the actual pump, something happens and it blows? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So most of the time when you hear about blockages, it wasn't a significant blockage until all of a sudden it got blocked. This has to do with atherosclerosis, the hardening of the arteries.
Right.
And unfortunately, everybody listening to this, you and me, we have some degree of blockage of our coronary arteries, the blood supply to our heart. It's part of being alive. That it will develop, and I don't want to bore you with the gory details, but it's there, and it can be stable, meaning it doesn't change minute to minute, or it could be unstable, and we have no way currently to be able to do that in a routine way to say, oh, that's an unstable atherosclerotic plaque. If it's an unstable plaque, it can break. If it breaks, suddenly all the liquid blood that was going by that plaque is now seeing stuff it shouldn't see. It's seeing fat and lipid and dead stuff that is inside that plaque, and then it clots. So we go from something that was maybe 20 to 30 to 40% blocked and totally asymptomatic to now 100% blocked because we made a blood clot right there. And the scary thing is, we're all walking around with 30 to 40%. In our age group, sorry, it's just us. And I don't care how clean living you were. Mm-hmm. I know as a pathologist, everybody's got it.
Do, yeah.
And you're totally asymptomatic. You can run marathons, you can ski down mountains, you can do everything you want to do. But if that now breaks, if the plaque blows, it will occlude 100% all of a sudden.
And those are the boom.
That's the drop dead myocardial infarct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. Hey, let's go on to I can't think of it now. When you cut the guy open, autopsies.
Autopsy, yes.
Who gets them? And who gets them? And procedurally, like we're going to do a full. Okay. You say we're going to do a full autopsy on this person. So is the person or people that are doing that? Is it like we start here, we go here, we go here, or does that guy just come in, or the girl autopsy person that's going to do it say, well, cool, Rick, I'll get that done. I'm going to start here today. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
is it procedurally?
Yeah.
But who gets them first?
Okay, well, who gets them? It depends.
Right.
I told you, it all
yeah.
depends. So there's the medical legal autopsy. That's the one that you see on CSI and shows like that, where the medical examiner takes jurisdiction because it's a not natural death.
Fishy, something fishy.
Well, not natural. So if you die of a natural death in the hospital, that there's absolutely no requirement for an autopsy. But if you die out in the community unexpectedly, we don't know. Or if there were suspicious circumstances, or
so the motorcycle accident is a not
natural, not natural.
Oh, not natural. Okay.
That's a not natural death because motorcycling and running into a tree is not natural.
Okay,
so that would fall under the jurisdiction of the medical examiner, and they can do the autopsy. So that's a separate kind of beast in terms of doing the autopsy, and they do an autopsy with a specific reason in mind. Right. It's not natural. So did it end up, we can say, oh no, this was a natural death, or was it homicide, suicide, or accident? And that's kind of the three things that they're trying to discern. And if it's homicide or an accident, no further kind of things happen. If it is homicide, then they get the authorities involved. And that's what the medical examiner is supposed to be doing. Right. It's forensic pathology. So we interface with those guys, but in my hospital practice, I'm not doing non-natural deaths.
Right.
So for the natural deaths, at the time when someone expires, getting into death, the physician who was taking care of that patient will approach the next of kin and say, "May we do an autopsy? And here's why."
Will they?
Yeah.
Oh, if they want to. They don't always.
They don't. Well, in fact, they don't have to at all.
Okay.
And in many cases, so I'm in a what's called tertiary care referral hospital, meaning we get the sickest of the sick from around the world, and they're frequently on experimental protocols.
What hospital is that? I don't
Oh,
think
Brigham and
I don't
Women's
think we
Hospital.
mentioned that.
Yeah,
Maybe we did
earlier. Yeah, in Boston. So they're on experimental protocols. They're getting drugs that we don't know what potential side effects might be. And we don't know how effective our therapy was. They had some nasty cancer. And were we successful, or do we just make things worse? So the autopsy can answer that. Or they got a particular surgical intervention. Was there something that happened as a result of the surgical intervention? Or the patient died. And well, so the patient comes in, they're really, really sick. And at some point, the clinical teams may say, "We've done everything that we can do. We should make our patient as comfortable as possible, but that may mean that we're not going to be aggressive in terms of further therapies." That's a hard decision for patients' families to make. And to do the autopsy actually provides some closure, because we can say, "Oh yeah, we really did do everything that was possible." And we can learn from this for the next patient, maybe make that life better. So there are a variety of reasons that we will tell or ask the family, "May we do this?" They have the final say. And they can say, "Yes, we want you to do everything. Please take out the brain. Let's take a look at that, because Dad had a stroke."
They have to pay for that?
No.
Okay,
So
no, I was
if
wondering.
you're a patient in the hospital, no, autopsies are absolutely free. It's part of our own internal quality control. And the next of kin can say, "You can take everything, brain, top to bottom, whatever you need," or they can say, "No, you can only look at the left kidney or the right big toe," and we're constrained, or we are restricted to those areas. And then we will typically, if we do a full autopsy, it is very standardized in terms of how we proceed. We as pathologists will read the chart, we'll talk with the clinicians, so we'll understand what are the clinical questions that are really going on here. And then we go in with kind of a mindset of, let's answer these questions, but also have a very broad mindset about what else can we find. And I will say that probably 25, 1 out of 4 cases, I find something that no one knew about in life that might actually be important for the next of kin. There's a genetic thing
Right.
that children
Sure.
or siblings might have. So the autopsy, people think, "Oh, in this day and age, we've got MRIs, we got CAT scans, we got
Oh, yeah.
tests up the wazoo. We know exactly what's going on." Nope, we don't. And the autopsy is really helpful in terms of educating ourselves, the clinicians, the families.
Back to the heart transplanting thing. So it was when the poor guy or girl hits the tree with the motorcycle, they're dead. The heart stopped.
No,
The heart isn't going anymore.
no. Brain stopped. So, in fact, if the heart stopped for whatever reason, that's probably not going to be a heart donor.
That was going to be my question. It's just coming into my head. So you hit a tree, and the person's dead. But don't they have to do that?
Brain dead.
I know, but oh, I got you. I'm stupid. Yeah. They're still laying in the hospital.
Oh, no. So all the organs. So they've had internal brain trauma or bleeding or something.
Dead, yeah.
So there's brain death, and they're never coming back. And believe me, we don't take organs from people who have the potential to come back. But a neurologist, there's a whole protocol to say the brain is gone. And this is no longer the person that
I got
was.
thinking of a different thing, and I got that all screwed up.
Yeah, but the heart, the kidneys, the lungs, all that is still working.
It's still working. Yeah, and I think, again, if it's an 80-year-old strong, wicked person, strong, a lady, she's one of those ladies, she falls down, brain dead, you would take that 80-year-old heart.
Okay, they're kind of.
You'd look at it. Bless
Excuse
you.
me. Thank you. There are limits. So probably
Bless you.
Sorry.
I'm glad you did that because I have a question in here about sneezing, but go ahead. Honest to God, honest to God.
Okay. I think your cat is starting to.
Uh-oh.
That's okay. So, sorry. Okay. I think
Does it come in 3s or 4s or 10s? Or?
3s. I think we're good. So there are limits. And so an 80-year-old heart, probably not.
Okay.
But, and at this stage, I'm probably not a heart donor, but I'm probably a kidney donor, or I could be a lung donor. But
cool information.
But I'm probably not a heart donor.
Love this information. Love it. Well, let's we got a little bit more here. Let's just go to a couple of. We got to get on that big C, man. God damn it.
Okay.
But wait. Godfather movies, 1 or 2, which is better?
1.
Why? Because many people would say 2.
Well, actually, I would put them on a par. For sequels, I'd say Godfather 2 is really a very good sequel.
Yeah. But you like 1. There's something that feel. It
was the first one. It had Marlon Brando.
Of course.
So there was just we hadn't ever seen that before,
right?
And so to capture kind of that feel, the gestalt of that kind of Italy and then the current day.
Much more simple story than the 2 also.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
2 is a much more convoluted story. It was, I think the mood that was established in 1 was really good.
And yes.
But 3 was,
yeah. I have a follow-up question. Should they have paid Duvall the money he wanted? And if they did, do you think 3 could have even been better?
Could have been better.
Like your Gomers, a little bit better, but not great.
Great.
Yeah. Could have been better. Yeah. Okay. Because he's crazy about the pop culture. Oh, this is a softball, but you'll have your answer. Brady or Belichick? Who was the reason for?
Oh, Brady.
Okay. I knew he would have that answer quick, and I didn't know what the. Yeah, of course, I would have put bet on you saying that. Yeah. Now, what do you think of his transformation?
Bill?
No.
Tom?
No. He was. The guy didn't seem like he was the guy that you wouldn't have wanted him walk into your doctor school.
Oh, God, no. He's another one where it's like, brilliant coach. Do I want to be friends with him? No.
Seems that way. But Brady, what do you think of his transformation? Looks like he's had work done, the hair and everything.
Yeah.
But no, I don't mean that just that, but just his whole thing. He's really, I think he's done well with.
Oh, he has. Yeah. I think he's actually done well as a sports.
That's what I mean. His whole transformation, past the best ever, and now he's doing this thing, and he's still just a nice guy going around, Yeah. Well, here's an interesting one, I think, and there are few people who could jive with this one. But All in the Family or Breaking Bad?
See, I never watched Breaking Bad.
Okay, I thought there would have been a chance that you hadn't.
No, I mean, I'm aware of the storyline and everything. His transformation from a high school chemistry teacher to a serious drug dealer.
It's really great.
Yeah,
Joe. Breaking Bad.
Yeah, okay, thumbs up.
Yeah, but anyway, if you had watched that, it would have been don't you think it would have been very interesting? Breaking Bad. That's
versus All in the Family. They're very different.
Different, but I'm talking about it. As good. It can be it can be a different thing, but still have the same. Let me answer that for myself. All in the Family.
Okay.
Yeah, the writing at the time. That writing was unbelievable.
Well,
Plus the company. The company, but Breaking Bad is unbelievable.
Well, yeah, and I think actually for the time too, All in the Family really broke down some barriers, allowed us to talk about stuff that we couldn't talk about.
Unbelievable! He'd go from bigotry to his love for Gloria in 3 words. They would take you from that. Norman Lear. Now we'll go one more of these, then we'll get back to the other stuff. Christmas cartoons: the original Grinch, the Jim Carrey Grinch, or National Christmas Vacation? National Lampoon's. Which one of those is the one?
Oh, wow. All in different ways. I think the original Grinch with Boris Karloff's voice was
a classic.
Classic.
A little bit the same. The same reason The Godfather won.
Yeah.
It was that first one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But those other 2 are great, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Christmas Vacation.
Isn't that great? John Hughes. I did a movie that his son wrote. It was called Newport South. I did it in 1999. I had a roommate in New York City. His name was Kyle Cooper, and he developed this titles company, Imaginary Forces. It was huge.
Mhm.
And then he got doing movies. I was 38 years old. Yeah. And he called me up. I was out of New York at that point. No, I was 40. Which movie? Yeah. No, I was out of New York at that point. I was like 42.
Okay.
And he was doing a movie. He said, we're doing this movie, and I want you for the part of the janitor. And it was John Hughes' son who had written it. And I remember one day we were shooting in an old abandoned school, and I'm walking down the hallway. I didn't work much, so you had a lot of time. And I'd always go to the set to learn, And I'm walking down this old hallway and the cables and everything. And in this doorway into the cafeteria was a guy standing smoking. And he said, "Hey, Rusty, I'm John Hughes."
Oh, really?
Wow.
Wow.
And I was like, hey. And I was, even though 40 something is kind of old, I was like, "Oh, hey, nice to meet you." And he said, "I really liked your reel." I was like, yeah. I was like, whoa. Anyway, Christmas vacation, that was a big moment for me. Brain dead, not heart dead. All right. Love Lauren. Heart dead. Nah, we'll skip the skeletal system for now. We will have
Happy to talk about it.
Yeah, but we got to go on to the cancer because that's
Okay.
one of your expertise.
Well, I've had personal experience with it.
Yes, but also
I work with a lot of people who do very basic cancer research. Yeah, sure.
okay. Because one thing I did when I went in with you that day is looked through a microscope at a cancer cell.
Yeah.
You had me do that. Thanks for all the great research you've done on that.
Well, I wish I could say that I've done something really world shaking, but not yet.
Right. Well, I've done my own research, and I think I'm the people tell me that I'm helping it out.
Yeah, you
I go
are.
up and play the guitar at the infusion center every week.
Yep.
For the people. So
every
we're
little
all.
bit.
So you're way above that. What the hell is it? What the hell is it? I'm walking around, 63-year-old guy, right now 62, and just knocking everything to enrich it, to have fun, to eat food, to whatever, living a life, man. I never was in the hospital, I never had a surgery or anything. And I went to my doctor, and they checked, she checked. And just enough time went by that all of a sudden, wicked symptoms, blah, blah, blah. I won't get into that. And I got this cancer.
Yeah.
What the hell is going on there? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So the way that our cells in our bodies are put together, we have a number of kind of genes. Well, so the body is constantly turning over. It's not like we built it once and we're good forever. We're constantly turning it over. The skin, on our arms and legs, every 10 to 14 days, new layer. The GI tract, every 3 days, new cells. Our bone marrow is constantly cranking out red blood cells and white blood cells and platelets and stuff all the time. We're constantly turning it over. So we have genes that say, make more cells. And normally, we also have genes that regulate and say, that's good, stop, no more. Every now and then, either the accelerator wins or the brakes lose. And then you have now more or less uncontrolled growth. And that's cancer. Simply enough. It is just the genes that every cell has to do that turnover thing, which is good, except that every now and then, like any machine, stuff happens. And when it happens, then we can get cancers. And it is not necessarily because we did something wrong.
Right.
It's not because we got exposed to something. It's, there are environmental causes. There are things that we can do, like smoking, that kind of increase the propensity to get the machines to break. But it's just inherent in the way that we are designed.
Yeah, what about the 8-year-old kid that has?
Yeah, well, exactly. So in that case, it depends. It depends. In the 8-year-old kid, it's probably an inborn genetic thing that happened when they were a little tiny fetus, and they just a gene got broken or disrupted or mutated just because random bad luck, And then that gets manifested very early on. So there's no exposure, particularly in that case. It's just the way the DNA works. We're constantly making new DNA, and most of the time we edit it perfectly. We don't make any mistakes.
Yeah,
But 1 out of 10 million, pick a number, I forget what the number is, we get a new mutation. A new DNA nucleotide gets inserted. And it's like as you're typing on your keyboard and you get an I instead of a J. And if your edit machine doesn't catch it, then you send that out and there's that J in there instead of an I. No big deal. And because we have a lot of DNA, most of those little tiny mutations don't have any effect at all. They're in a part of the genome that's not being transcribed or read, but every now and then it happens in something that's important. And then we lose that control. And that's all cancer is. It's not magical, it's not mystical, it's not making up new rules. But once those cells start growing kind of uncontrolled, then they can take over the normal cells. And they can also say, you know what? I'm not happy just being in the prostate. I want to go to the bone. I want to travel. I want to see the rest of the body. And then they start setting up shop in other areas where they can wreak havoc. And that's kind of in a nutshell.
No. You broke it down really, really, really nicely there. So then, in a similar type answer, the chemo, intravenous chemo, right, therapy, that is a little bit, and people go listen to Laura Drennan's podcast,
a little advertisement.
But you can give, right, I should be advertising anyway. You can give a different answer. The intravenous chemo goes in there, and she said it's like, she hates to say it that way, but it's like if you're dropping a bomb over an enemy and you're trying to get the bad guys, but you also get some good guys. So when I first had my first infusion, I had the 100.4 temperature, which I'm supposed to call up. I went to the emergency room because that chemo had busted up things it should be busting up, but also really good things that should be busting up.
Yeah.
They're called cells, right?
Yeah.
So then I got so low that I wouldn't have been able to fight something if it came in. So if give me what your answer would be. What's a cell, and why is this poison making the cell? Why is it screwing it up? But then it grows back. The cell gets healthy again.
Yeah. So the way that chemotherapy works is that it is trying to target the cells that are growing faster. So if your cancer, the uncontrolled growth that acquired some mutations in their growth genes, and now the cells are proliferating. They're making more of themselves quicker than everybody else. Everybody else my GI tract is still turning over every 3 days. My bone marrow is constantly turning over. So those cells are constantly proliferating, growing. The cancer chemotherapy works more or less because it hits the fastest proliferating cells. And cancer cells are faster than bone marrow, faster than my GI tract, faster than the skin here. But that chemotherapy will also hit my normal turnover cells. Okay, so you can get diarrhea. You can get skin lesion.
Your hair.
Yeah, you can lose your hair. So all the things that are constantly turning over, that chemotherapy hits too, including your bone marrow. And that bone marrow is constantly making those white blood cells, which are good for preventing infection. So you get the chemotherapy, tumor cells are frantically turning over, and hopefully most of the chemotherapy will go after them. But there's a little bit of collateral damage, like dropping a bomb. It's getting some of the enemy, but it's also getting some of the good guys who are in the neighborhood. That bone marrow gets affected, and I'm not making enough white cells. Now we live in a world of microbes that want nothing more than to crawl into us and turn us into, petri dishes for culture medium. And if we don't have white blood cells that can prevent that from happening, now we're in trouble. So when that fever happens, that's your body saying, we're under attack. Hello, hello, hello. And you don't have enough white blood cells. And that's when we have to intervene, give you some antibiotics, and hopefully prevent the bacteria from doing any harm while you kill off the cancer cells.
Which happened. I was in there. They were nervous. They didn't want to send me to. I had a AFib too.
Yep.
Because I was freaking out, right? Yeah. The doctor was like, this woman, she was like, Anyway, it took a while, and they were like, we don't know really how to give you what you need to slow down your heart without making your blood pressure go too low.
Yep.
And anyway, blah, blah, blah. It all turned out okay. But they all were also like, but we also don't want to send you to Burlington because we won't want all those other people around you.
Right. No, exactly.
And everything, you know.
All those other, people with bacteria. Yeah.
But the good news is, those things, the next day they were telling me, oh yeah, your stuff's coming back good. But so then they also said, and tell me about this. At that point, when everything was hitting the fan, so to speak, the doc said, but don't worry if you have more infusions. Yeah, because they know that, they see it on the chart. Don't worry, because Laura will give you, and her girls will give you a shot the day after your next infusion that will damn near for sure prevent this from happening again. And they did, and it never happened again. So what is that shot?
So that's you probably got an injection of Neupogen or something like that. And so we also know what drives bone marrow to make the white blood cells.
Oh, okay.
And the
that's all it is.
Various compounds. And it's a peptide, it's a hormone, and we can goose the precursors and make more white cells.
It's fairly simple.
Well, simple. I mean, it's taken 20 years of research at the NIH and someone's entire life, and then the company to make it. But yes, it's pretty straightforward.
Now that it's done.
Yeah, now that we know.
But I'm glad that I didn't have this 20 years ago, 25 years ago, because they say this might happen again. Keep the ice cubes next to you and come running to us. Isn't that interesting? So just a general overall statement. I mean, blah, blah, blah. Boston's changed in our 40 years, but how this cancer stuff, what they can do for it. Is it give me an analogy? Give me a description.
Yeah, well, I mean, just in my lifetime so this would have been since I graduated medical school in 1984. A CAT scan was something that was like magical at that point. We did not have peptide hormonal therapies like Neupogen or Lupron. There you go. Oh, well, that's chemotherapy, but yeah.
That is chemotherapy.
Okay, so we didn't have a lot of the things. I mean, it's what we can do now versus what we could do 40 years ago. It's mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. And it didn't happen because we got smarter. It happened because we put in the time and effort and money to do the research to understand all this stuff. We now have medications. If you have the right cancer, we have medications that will basically cure you.
Right.
That would have been unthinkable, even a decade ago.
Right. So the fact that you've made all that progress in 40 years, does that mean the next 40 years it's going to be more difficult to get small progress points because so much has been done? One can't expect, the faster the runner, they're not going to gain a second on themselves.
Yeah, I think that's one way to look at it. Actually, I think that we're accelerating how much we are learning. So there's back again when I was a graduate student getting my PhD, to actually understand the structure of a protein, we had to do something called X-ray crystallography. We had to do primary sequencing. It was laborious. It took people 30 years to get kind of the first structure of a protein, hemoglobin. What did it look like? How was it folded? How did it work? Now we can take a DNA sequence of a gene, plug it in, get the predicted protein sequence, and then the computer will say, "Oh, it's going to fold like this." You don't have to do any of that X-ray crystallography and stuff like that. So we've gone from something that took 30 years to something that takes 3 days. So the pace of acceleration, the pace at which we're discovering new things is actually increasing. I told my dad back in the day that if he just lived long enough, he would live forever. I don't think that's quite true, but I do think that we are getting more and more knowledge that allows us to extend life. And the idea is not to just let us live to 100, but it's let us
Quality
live
of.
quality of life in the time that we have. Even with all of the best science and the best medicine, we're never going to live forever. I don't think we'd want to.
Right.
But I think we would all like to live really, really well until we're 80, and then the next morning, we're off this mortal coil.
MSI, Manufacturing Solutions Incorporated, MSI. It's up in Morrisville, Vermont. First of all, I'm finding what I have to read this week about them. They're first of all, they employ about 400 people in Lamoille County, right? Not just from Lamoille County, but all over, from Winooski, everywhere. They put together Concept 2 machines. They do real estate. They have excavating, a whole excavating company. Many divisions at MSI. And this week, first of all, look at that. I got the shirt on backwards because community partner. This is serious. That's all serious. MSI supports Vermont beyond manufacturing. They're active in local partnerships and workforce development, and this is serious. Helping grow the community project by project. MSI, Manufacturing Solutions Incorporated. Thank you very much. Learn more at msivt.com. Thanks, msivt.com, for supporting God. All right. Hold on. Maybe I have. I was wondering about, how much 30th trying to roll it. Oh, because you were very kind, and Diane, when I was diagnosed and started therapies, we were family friends.
Sure.
And you would hit me back with, not only were you telling me to muscle through, but you actually know stuff. So that was really important. And at one point, I don't know if you know this, but one of the things you may use this a lot, this term, roll with it.
Yeah.
You said there's going to be good. There's going to mostly be good. There's going to be some rough time within a year. And did you know that Holly made this for me for Christmas?
No, I didn't. Oh, wow. Roll with it.
Just roll with it. Yeah. She made that. Isn't that great? And it's also good art.
It is good art.
Yeah.
No, I think that's true. I think that's actually even a message for just life in general.
Yeah.
There are going to be good parts. There are going to be parts that are not so good. You roll with it.
And I don't know if you know, you probably do. I did an everyday log.
I know.
And then Laura loved that.
Yeah.
And then so the other day, I'm coming out of, there's like 7 dudes in my little town.
Paul Simon.
That have this right now.
Yeah. Really?
Oh yeah. So I saw a guy. I saw a guy, his wife the other day, and I didn't know and then she was like, Papa, she's asking me about chemo. She doesn't want to, she's scared to tell you everybody I hear that gets chemo. And I was like, well, I can't tell you, how. I said, if you say the things you're doing now are helping him, I don't know how chemo could hurt you, how you're going to have more, how he's going to have more cancer after.
Yeah.
But,
right.
I said, I told, So I said, I took it was, I don't want to do it. I will do it again, but it wasn't what you can hear from everyone. I said, and I kept a log, and N's were normal, F was fatigue, and LF was light fatigue. And I said, and there were a lot more N's than anything else.
Yeah.
That's all I could tell her.
No, exactly.
Because I don't know what the hell he's going.
No, it's just, how do you feel? How do you feel?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So the thing about multiple guys in town with prostate cancer, one of the things, again, just the way that we're built, if you live long enough, guys, if at age 80, 80% of men over the age of 80 will have prostate cancer. They won't have an aggressive form like you did. They will probably die with it, not of it, which is an important distinction.
Yeah, sure.
In fact, frequently when I do autopsies and people die of heart attacks or they die of other things, I will find that they had a little cancer brewing and it did not affect their life. So cancer is not a death sentence.
Right.
But in your case, it was pretty aggressive and happened pretty young. It does happen in that way, but it's really, really, really common. just because with time and a lifetime of testosterone, we drive those cells and they accumulate a little editing, the I to J thing. They accumulate mutations till one of these days, one clicks over and now the cells grow a little bit better than the other ones.
And I like what Laura said last time. Is it's more they look at what I have, so a stage 4 cancer can be not good at all.
Yeah, Joe Biden.
Oh yeah, he's got Gleason 9, Joe Biden. But a stage 4 pancreatic cancer. If you hear, people are like, but with this, it's not
right. No,
he's
exactly.
84, but she said we look at some of those like yours more like a chronic illness than a death sentence. But then, like even you said, chronic illness means you ain't perfect. Chronic illness isn't exactly better than no illness at all, but it's better than that stage where people are like, oh, we're closing you back up. It's
exactly.
Good night,
no, cancers
but
are
you
not.
don't know that when you get diagnosed.
No, exactly. You just hear cancer.
I know, man.
But cancers are not created equal. I mean, there are some that are. I mean, the most common cancers are skin cancers, not melanoma, but squamous cell and basal cell carcinomas of the skin. People just walking around in the sunlight and UV exposure get that at a very high rate. And we take them off, and you're good to go. So cancer is scary to hear, but everyone out there getting that diagnosis, get as much information as you can because it's different. And prostate is going to be typically a little bit more chronic than pancreatic. Very worlds apart.
Right. And all cancers aren't created equally, nor are the bodies that they're in. And that's what I have going for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You were in great shape. Yeah.
I eat right. I sleep right. I don't have a lot of stresses. So that seems to be, if you read stuff, it always says, but if you are good and this and that and this and that, we can't say that these percentages are definite because there are all these extent.
Right. Again, it depends.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah. So my job, I should have picked up on this earlier in this. My job was supposed to be on what? You said it depends on what, and then you've been answering on what. What about this damned? We'll wrap up soon here, and then we'll have you back.
Well, yeah.
Well, we got a whole body. We haven't heard about that autopsy toe yet. We have that you mentioned
with gout in it or something. Yeah.
What about this automated ball strike crap? Are you for that or not?
Oh, I'm very.
Starts next year.
I know. Well, it's going to be there, and only if you're the pitcher or the batter or the catcher can you raise a red flag and say, no, I want that reviewed. And you only get a certain number of them. So I'm conflicted. So part of baseball is the history. I sound like an old timer.
Right.
Back in the day. Some of it is it's the human element of it. We can make it as computationally as perfect as possible, but some of the human thing, even the bad calls. I remember that damn bad call, but it's okay. It's I know it cuts both ways.
Yeah, so now they're going to have the automatic. So they can use it twice in a game. I think everybody's here. So should we cut if they come in, or should we just let that noise go? Rick and Diane's son and daughter-in-law are coming with their kids. Should we?
Wow, he's good hearing.
Should we cut? I think they were out there.
That's possible.
Okay, but yeah, maybe they can. They actually walk
Diane,
up the stairs.
You want to go down there?
They might not be here. I don't know. Huh? Okay. Well, I don't care about that, but I was like, maybe just have them walk up here even you'd be hearing it then, obviously, and I wouldn't care. But Rick, you know how they raise the red flag? They tap their helmet?
Is that right?
I've just read that today.
I've been a big advocate, though, of having the, again, there's old school in terms of putting down signals and hiding the signals in terms of calling for fastball, curve, changeup, that kind of stuff. I actually have thought that it would really speed up the game by having the electronic to an earpiece from pitcher to catcher saying, I want it here, fastball, mid, inside, whatever. So I think that has been good. I definitely like having instant replay for football games because there's a lot of...
Okay.
So taking the zebras out of the football game. I
I was going to ask you how have you enjoyed the loosening up of protecting the passer more and the catcher more, the receiver more. Is that something you've liked? That the scores are higher, more exciting games? Or
Yeah,
no?
well, so I mean,
we used to watch Tony Dorsett all day.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I think it's actually a good thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the traumatic brain injury is real.
Oh, okay.
Is a real deal. So any way that we can protect people from having their brain squished up against their cranium, I think is a good thing.
Okay.
I mean, it's a brutal, violent sport anyway.
Yeah.
But protecting people so that Brady can play for 44 years, whatever he played.
Yeah.
I mean, if he was getting hit, he would have been done at 35.
Right.
So we would have missed out on 9 years of Brady.
That's true, yeah. So that's saved. It's like chemotherapy.
Yeah. Just like chemotherapy.
Just makes you live longer.
Just exactly like it.
A couple more. We'll be done in a couple minutes, gang. Okay.
They are down there. Wow.
Do you still go to movie theaters?
I do.
You
Oh,
do?
my God, yes.
Did you see that latest Leonardo one, Paul Thomas Anderson one? With Sean Penn in it?
A new battle every day or something? No, I have not. What do you think?
You seen that? He loves it. I didn't see it. Joe loved it.
Really? Okay, I've been trying to convince Diane to go see it.
Yeah, so cool, man.
Yeah, I want to see the new Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, okay.
Deliver Me from Nowhere.
I was never, but
you're not a Springsteen fan. I would have thought you and Bruce simpatico. No.
No. So, by the way, if I was talking about cancer, glory days. That's a real story. He was.
You know exactly. He was going into the bar.
The guy.
You know the baseball player?
Well, rest Joe Depew.
Yeah, that's the guy.
Summers and Stowe. Did you read the obit when he died in April?
You knew him.
Knew him well. Used to play. Excuse me. Play basketball with him a lot. He would come up and paint and Stowe in the summers.
And he could throw that speedball by you and make you look like a fool.
Yeah. And go, well, he was tall and he was a great athlete, quiet spoken guy. And I've known him for 35, 40 years.
Oh, wow.
And I was going up to the hospital during the therapies or whatever. And I see Joe, I hadn't seen him for a couple of years. I see Joe Depew walking in to the hospital. And I said, I think Kathy was.
As you were walking out.
I was driving in. And I said to Kathy, I said, Jesus, that's Joe Depew. He doesn't look good. Of course, I'm not good either, but he's not. And I said, boy. So I went in and there he was. Prostate cancer.
Really?
He talk like this. Hey, Russ, how you doing? He's a real sweet guy. He's 74 or 6 or something, 2 or 3, whatever Springsteen is. He's that age.
Yeah.
And we talked about, and then he kept in touch with me. For the next year or so, he would call. He'd be in Florida. Hey, Russ, it's Joe. How you doing,
man?
Wow. So then I was up at the hospital getting something, and there was a young lady there that was a nurse or something. And I said, oh, where do you live? She said, oh, we live in Stowe now or somewhere, And I said, oh, where? She said, blah, blah. We just got a new apartment. And I said, oh, yeah, that's good. You like it? She said, no, somebody owned it. A lady owned it. She's a local, and she sold it. I said, do you know her name? She says, no. Because I said, because I would know her. Cool. And the girl goes, but the guy that lived there before, he was the guy from the Glory Days song.
Oh, wow.
And I said, that's Joe, man. Did you get to meet him? And she goes, no, he died in April. And I didn't know.
Oh.
I didn't know. So anyway, Joe Depew, I'm not a big Springsteen guy.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I give him his due. I mean, he works hard.
But no, I mean, at Glory Days, I mean, a lot of the songs kind of resonate with me. I mean, I knew kids in high school who were like the big sports jock and had all the girls and all that stuff. And then you see them later and they're like 35 and bald and big guts and divorced twice. And there was that peak.
That song.
When there's that peak for them that happened at age 16.
Yeah, and Joe was good, but he kept being good at tennis
good.
and everything.
Oh, that's good.
So is that good enough?
Is what good enough?
all of this should be.
Oh yeah. Well, we've covered a lot of territory.
Good, and there's a lot more to cover.
Oh, absolutely. Love to talk about anything.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming up and for keeping in touch. And this will be up in a couple of weeks, and cool. So, how long are you guys up in town for?
We're heading back today.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we were just up for the weekend, see the kids,
and then back tomorrow. Okay, since we've listened to this podcast, Monday, you get in your electric Ford.
Yeah.
You drive from MacArthur Street?
Natick. Yeah.
Yeah,
Natick,
from
Mass.
Natick to where and go to which 20%?
Oh, so on Monday morning, I have some clinical responsibilities, but starting at noon, I'm giving a lecture on the anatomy of the GI tract
Okay.
for the medical students.
And how many students would that be?
Well, that would be 40
And
in the
live?
class. Yeah,
In a lecture hall?
they're in a lecture room, and they're
And how long is that lecture? 90 minutes?
it'll
40?
be an hour, and then we'll go and do dissection on our cadavers.
Okay, so that's
for
what-
another 3 to 4
That's
hours.
cool to know. Yeah, after what we've heard, you're right at it tomorrow in
Oh,
Boston.
absolutely, back at it.
That's great. Hey, man, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, glory days are now.
Yeah.
These are the days because poor Joe, he's not here.
Yeah.
All right, cool, man.
Thank you.
Thanks.